Here with the next episode of the Beck Bodie No Bonds Cast. Hello, everybody. My name is Ben Beck. I am the co-founder and chief investment officer of Beck Bodie. For those of you watching, listening that don't know who Beck Bodie is, we are a financial planning investment management firm located right outside of Boston. We have 25 professionals that are within the firm, all focused on working with individuals like you and me and our families, and also small business owners, corporations with respect to retirement plans and corporate plans. Last couple of No Bonds casts that we've actually talked more recently in the 401k market, a relatively new 401k platform called 401go that is really disrupting and changing the world with respect to 401k plans, making it very easy for small business owners in particular to be able to put together a retirement plan that's really beneficial for their employees, but most of all, making it very, very easy to administer, both from the corporate end as well as the participant end, in terms of putting money into the plan and investing the money for your financial future. We've also talked in the recent past about one of our investment strategies, the income growth strategy. And we actually have one of our next No Bonds casts coming up, where we're going to talk about our flagship strategy, the growth strategy, the ins and outs on how those decisions are made and what our philosophy is behind how we manage money. Today, I'm very excited. We've got a woman here with us today, Ashley Kotler, friend, client, mother of two beautiful children, wife to Justin Kotler, one of the top CrossFit coaches in the land. Justin and Ashley have been impacting many, many folks for a number of years on the health and fitness end, as well as nutrition, and really changing lives. And thought it was a great idea to bring Ashley on for a number of reasons. But when it comes to talking about what our topic is today, about being financially fit, what that means, how do you determine whether you're financially fit, and where do you go from there? How do you become financially fitter? And Ashley is, as I mentioned, a client, has gone through the process with us. And Ashley, why don't you give us an intro about you and your past and such, and let everybody know that's on here that doesn't know you, what you're all about.
Yeah, I think almost everyone probably knows me. So Justin and I opened up CrossFit Dynamics over 10 years ago. I was originally a musical theater major with the intention of being on stage and wanting to just impact people positively, to want to think and feel and be better people. In 2008, when the economy obviously dipped that time around, the types of shows and the opportunities for me and the types of things in theater that I was trying to be in weren't happening as readily. So that was when I met Justin and got into the fitness realm, and my stage kind of changed. I geared my interests and my certifications, and we opened up Dynamics, and our motto is change your fitness, change your life. And we have really done that immensely. Being in front of people in classes and private clients and things like that was just a whole new level to reach people and change their lives. And then obviously over the course of 2020, when our business was shut down, the pandemic hit, and Jax was born all in the same week. It was a pretty eye-opening experience. And fortunately, we had our ducks in a row, pretty decently in a row, like financially, which allowed us to be able to really make the decisions and the moves that we did over the past year. It's actually a year ago today we moved to Vegas.
Today. Oh, excellent.
Today, yeah. Without really knowing how long the pandemic was going to last, how long our business was going to be shut down for. New York was our home. We never thought about leaving, but we had to make the difficult decision to cut our cost of living if we wanted to salvage Dynamics and continue to help people. So it was a pretty big sacrifice, obviously, moving our young family across the country and essentially feeling like we were starting all over. And with that, it forced a lot of very difficult conversations with finances and money. And we've worked with investments and financial advisors in the past But the biggest thing that was really missing was there was really no real game plan and arc. Like, what
Mm,
are your, like, what are your goals? How can we get, we would like to buy a house within the next 5 years. Okay, well, how can we come up with a plan that attacks that, that also doesn't really affect the whole arc of our children going to college and also retirement and things like that.
mhm.
And so a very close friend introduced Ben to us. And it was just like this. We started conversations. I started listening to their webinars and their podcasts on YouTube. And it really started putting a lot of perspective
Mm,
into that there actually can be a very manageable pill to swallow and understand
right.
finances without getting overwhelmed with it. And I think that was
Yeah.
the biggest thing, because with all of the changes that have happened this last year, it was actually kind of a breath of fresh air
Mhm.
to step by step have someone coach us
Mm,
and guide us, not in fitness, but with our finances. Um, and so, it's been a very insightful and learning process. And Ben will talk to you about the book a little bit later, but there's this
yeah.
book that he goes off of that really opened my eyes to understanding in a very basic level of how the markets work,
Mhm.
and the strategies that they use, so that you're not just throwing sand at a wall with someone else's money.
And no, you bring up a good point there too, Ashley, and thank you for that background. And you mentioned 08 and 09, certainly a transitionary time period for a lot of folks, right? We were in the middle of an incredible, call it financial collapse, and for a pretty extended amount of time that affects a lot of people. And obviously this pandemic, 2020, and even today, a very transitionary time period for folks, right? You mentioned with the gym in New York City, making the decision to move across country. I think there are certainly a lot of folks that, just as a matter of the world changing and how it operates, how the economy operates, how things are shifting, is a incredible opportunity to really take a very close look at your finances and work with someone or a team that really understands how to help you not only put all the pieces together, but know that and have the experience to know that what we know today, I will guarantee we will think differently a few years down the road, because the future is such a moving target. And it's really important, just like in fitness, you could know all the exercises that you're doing, but without a qualified coach next to you that has the experience of working with athletes and understanding the human body and how you fuel the human body and the peaks and valleys that you'll go through as an athlete or
Or an
somebody working
injury.
out.
And then you have to
Right.
divert everything, all of your training and all of your rehab and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. Excellent. Yeah. So, the way we look at financial planning in that same realm, or where the way we start to answer the question, are you financially fit? We've broken down what is called the financial planning process into 5 major bullets or 5 major categories. And the first one might sound really obvious. And by the way, I'm not going to go too deeply into these 5. We don't have time to do that today, but we really want to dig into 1 or 2 of these with Ashley, since she's gone through the process. But first and foremost, understanding where you are today, right? Understanding your financial circumstances as they are today. We call that a baseline, right? And we need to know what kind of money, what kind of accounts, what kind of assets and liabilities have you set up, or has someone set up for a future goal. Now, one of the most common future goals, even though it means different things to different people, is, of course, retirement, right? That's a broad term for a lot of people, but retirement certainly is something that you have a milestone, and you have a landmark out there in the future at a particular date and time, right? At an age where you're going to say, well, look, I'm going to stop working, or at minimum ratchet down from how I'm working today. And I need to have enough income at that point in time from my savings to be able to cover my expenses throughout retirement. So understanding where you are today is really important, because that's your baseline. And understanding, secondly, how much money you're spending today, what your expenses are. Because if your milestone, so to speak, is 15 years down the road, and you're spending $200,000 today, something that's been talked about in the media more recently, even though it's present all the time, is this term inflation. And so inflation is going to have one of the largest effects on your retirement. And it has to be accounted for in terms of what you're spending today and projecting what those expenses will be at that point, 15, maybe 20 years down the road, and then throughout retirement. So having a baseline, understanding what your expenses are today and what those will be down the road. And then thirdly, based upon those expenses, what sum of capital are you going to need? How much money will you have had to save by that time in order to safely and comfortably provide that amount of income to allow you to retire and to retire on your own terms? So those are the top three. And then that once we get through those three, that's when the decision-making really starts to happen, because that's when we start to examine, okay, we know your baseline, where you are right now. We know where you want or where you need to get to. How are we going to make up that delta? What decisions are we going to make? How are you going to invest your money? And how are you going to spend your money going forward in a way so that you can prioritize savings and increase the probability significantly that you can hit your goals on your terms? Really, really important. And then the fifth point, which is something I think personally in my experience in this financial industry that is vastly overlooked, is that once you're there, how do you stay there? How do you stay there when what is a statistical truth today? If you're 62 and you're retiring today, married couple, one of the spouses is going to live into their 90s. So that's 30 years, 30 plus years of retirement, of having to generate income to satisfy your lifestyle expenses. That's a lifetime. And understanding that, as important as saving and investing is pre-retirement, understanding the factors that determine a very healthy and long retirement is equally important. So those are the five major things that we focus on in the financial planning conversation with all of our clients, that work its way to what we call an investment policy statement, which is essentially a blueprint. It's a roadmap. Once we have all the information, once we've had a number of dialogues with our clients, that's when we put the pen to paper and say, we are going to proceed in this manner, in this direction for your financial future. And I had a question for you. Given, Ashley, it's a transitionary year, and having gone through the process yourself, what do you see as similarities in what I just talked about in terms of your expertise in health and fitness and nutrition and establishing planning for that and working with athletes and the financial planning process that you went through?
I mean, it's almost identical, right? Like, and it's, it's been rewarding because it's like, do you want to get a membership at a Globo gym and show up once or twice a month and not be held accountable and not be with a group of like-minded individuals that push you, or a coach that helps you, assist you? Or, do you want to be, at a better gym where you're coached, where you have personal attention, where you have someone literally guiding your entire course of action, right? Like, so it's one of those things where it's like, it's like the first time financially having a financial coach, in a sense, where there were big goals that I have, but now once I have someone like putting me through the modifications and the next step and the next step and going from a banded pull up to an unbanded pull up to 10
Right.
and all that kind of stuff, cutting down things in bite-sized pieces definitely feels so much less overwhelming with all of the overwhelming things right now that we have going on in life. It's just nice to kind of focus on one small thing at a time and trust that someone is there guide those steps with you and for you.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
been really exciting.
Yeah, and you know what, you mentioned something there about that word overwhelming, because I'm a firm believer, and you know, that we look at our industry today, the financial industry, and I think as a whole, we do a very good job at making things really complex for folks as an industry, right? I mean, if you really look at how the financial world operates today, it's essentially a super Walmart of investment choices. And then you read the paper and you watch on TV, and we're talking about real estate, we're talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about all these different types of investments, some esoteric type of investments. And being in the profession, it can still be confusing in terms of, well, what does all this mean? How does one family sit down and determine the right direction to go on their own? Right? I mean, it can be very difficult. You ask any professional at Beck Bodie, our company, who this is their expertise. Going it alone, even with the expertise, is really difficult, because on top of the complexity of our investment world, you know, we're all human beings. So we all suffer from the same emotions and such with the ups and downs of the markets. We have certainly an expertise and understanding and experience and knowing that how the market operates, what kind of decisions can really take people off track, and when it comes to those words you used about accountability and having a coach, that's really what our role is.
I was going to say, in addition to that, with my pre and postnatal certification, I do individualized programming for a lot of postpartum women or women through their pregnancy. And I do have a high price for it. And the reason why is because it's not a one-trick pony. Every pregnancy is completely different. Every labor and delivery is completely different. And you have to adjust their programming according to their past, the current state of events, what they have access to, all of that kind of thing. And this is really and truly the exact same thing. You don't really want to go somewhere where they're just going to put you in a box with a whole bunch of other people, because
one size fits all.
Right. It's not that. Every family is totally unique in completely different ways. And it's important that you be treated accordingly.
We are all snowflakes, right? There's no such thing as everybody being the same. And that's, we've always, as a company, as a brand, we've always been tremendously against this cookie cutter type of atmosphere that the financial world has become. Fill out this questionnaire that details your age and your tolerance for risk, and voila, here's your portfolio. That for most people, that just does not work. Mm-hmm. And it really involves sitting down, having a dialogue, understanding really each individual person, each family, and where they're coming from, what they're trying to accomplish, what their insecurities are in terms of what money means to them. And a lot of this is driven by perhaps past experiences. One thing I'll mention is that so for some of our older clients, there's some emotional weight that comes from their parents having been products of the Depression, where some folks in the Depression lost everything. And so in some part of their psyche, there's that fear that was instilled in them from what their parents went through, that, geez, if I invest money here, if I make the wrong decision, I'm going to lose everything. And so every person comes from a different background, and it's really, really important, when we talk about those words, are you financially fit? It's an involved discussion to really understand where you're coming from, what you're trying to accomplish, and how we can work together with a portfolio and a blueprint to make things work for you and your family. Really, really important. What are some of the
breathing room to have it evolve over time too?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The evolutionary process is really important. And it's funny you mentioned that because, you know, our strategies that you mentioned the book before. So good idea to plug the book right here. Everything that we are about as a company is encapsulated really nicely in a book called Dancing with the Analysts. If you're interested in a copy of the book, you can message social@beckbodie.com or Ashley, to get a copy of the book, to really get an understanding at your own speed of the philosophy behind what we as a company think is really important and what's out there really currently in the financial industry that are potential pitfalls for you when you're thinking about your financial future. Really, really important. But the formulaic aspect of how we invest money really accommodates for what you said, that future is a moving target. So it's really important, you know, when I mentioned certainly the first 3 points about establishing these baseline numbers about where we need to get, but then when it comes to making the actual decisions, how to fund the plan, in other words, how do we make up that delta between what you have today and what you need in the future, and then how do you stay there? There's this one variable that's always going to be present, which is tomorrow will be different from today. So whatever you invest in, we firmly believe you need to have 3 questions answered. And those 3 questions are, what do you buy? Where are you going to invest your money? When do you sell? The most important question to have an answer to that there is when do you sell? And then when you do sell, where do you reinvest the proceeds? Those questions have to be answered in advance before even getting started. And that when do you sell is really important because we know what we think today as an investment world, we're going to think differently. Just like in the middle of 2019, there was not a soul on this earth that considered that we were going to be facing a global pandemic, but we did. And we made it, we've made it through. We're actually still making it through. People are getting vaccinated and the economy is chugging back. But the world has changed. The world has absolutely changed in a lot of ways. And your portfolio has to have the flexibility, your plan, as you said, Ashley, the breathing room to evolve over time. That's something we focus a lot on in our conversations as we did with you and Justin, as we do with all of our clients. What kind of questions do you think, Ashley, that folks that are listening today might have with respect to discipline planning and how to invest money or what have you?
I think kind of like the two overall big ones are, one, I know a lot of small business owners or people that are just independent contractors in general. So they have a lot of questions when it comes to what are the best strategies for 401ks or Roth IRAs, or what types of things to start putting their money toward with retirement in relation to what the best strategies are when you're an independent contractor or a small business owner, because it's a lot different actually than working for a corporation. And I think the second biggest question is, once all of that is set up, you have 401k, you have your money flowing into the appropriate streams. What do you do with your extra side pools of cash? You know, where, you start gaining more money or start, it's a crazy world, right? So you have an opportunity that pops up, you start making a little bit of extra cash flow here or there. Where do you put that money?
Sure.
Those are the 2 big ones I think that a lot of people have big questions about.
Yeah, if I could, I'll answer it. I wrote it down there. I'll answer the second one first. So when we're talking about clients that have a surplus, so to speak, of capital now. So I guess we're assuming that we've gone, or the clients have gone through planning and have really established a great foundation of being able to solidify call it their retirement investments, and those are on the right track and they're on pace to get to where they need to go. But they have extra capital, they have surplus capital in terms of, I think that the answer, of course, like anything else, is different for different people. But I think the best broad answer I can give is that the folks that we talk to, it's not just about retirement, right? It's there are bigger goals that folks have, impact being one of them, right? There's, okay, well, I want to, perhaps one of the goals post-retirement is I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy for my children or my children's children. Maybe I want to pay for my grandchildren's or a portion of my grandchildren's college when I'm gone. Maybe I want to have an impact in the world in terms of charities or philanthropic type of endeavors. Where does that money go? Is a great question, because there are, depending on what the goal is and what the time period is to reach that goal, there are a number of different investment opportunities out there and types of accounts, brokerage accounts, where money can be siloed, money can be saved and invested for those, earmarked for those particular goals. And I think that's
what continues to grow within itself.
Absolutely. And what we tend to find quite often is that, when we come across folks that have their retirement set up, as you said, and that's on track, oftentimes we see a savings account that is a lot larger than it should be, right? It's sitting in a savings account and money is sitting there not getting much interest at all, because there's a longer term goal. There are things, our clients or these folks want to do, but they don't really understand or know yet what the right avenue is to invest that and continue that to grow. And that comes down to the dialogue, right? In the plan itself. Retirement is not the only goal. Yeah. And I think your first question was with respect to the types of accounts, retirement accounts that perhaps are a little bit different than if you just work for a company. You work for a company, you can invest in, most companies have 401k plans set up, but if you're a small business owner, there are other types of accounts, from SEP IRAs or simple IRAs that you may have heard of before, that can be set up to really benefit the small business owner. 401ks actually have come a long way since their establishment to be able to benefit small business owners. I mentioned at the beginning of this call, the 401 Go platform is a huge disruptor in the 401k universe, because up to this point, for a small business owner to establish a 401k for his or her own company, he or she wants to provide a benefit solely for themselves and also for their employees. But if it's a small business, up to this point, the complexity, the time, and the actual cost of setting up a retirement plan, a 401k, has been substantial, and it leads a lot of small business owners to not go in that direction. And the 401 Go platform, and I'm sure there'll be a number of other platforms like it to come, has really focused on that space to allow small business owners to really benefit with setting up a 401k plan with a lot less time and a lot less cost, so that they can establish a beneficial plan. We've had some companies set up with us in literally 8 minutes. Wow. In terms of the time it takes to get all the information to the system with our staff and get a plan up and running. And the cost is one of the lowest in the industry in terms to do that. So I think it's a matter of just an educational process for a lot of folks, having a conversation and understanding, for example, the small business owner, what they're trying to accomplish, what they're running into as issues, and helping them figure out a solution for what they're trying to accomplish is the name of the game. Like always, I talk too much. It's now 3:32. So we'll have to end it here. But first, I want to thank you, Ashley, for coming on today and sharing your story and your path over these last few years. And we're very thankful and honored that that the path led to us and working together. And for anybody listening out there that's learning about us for the first time, I'll reiterate, If you want to send us or Ashley a note in terms of getting a copy of the book, we can get that sent out to you. And you can learn a little bit more about our philosophy behind how we look at the world from a planning and investing standpoint. And then follow us at Beck Bodie on Instagram. And we have various social media channels where you can find us. So I want to thank you again, Ashley, for coming on. Thank you, everyone that's come on to watch and listen today. And we'll look forward to the next No Bondcast coming up shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.